For those of you that are listening live, welcome. This is our Feel Fresh Mondays weekly podcast recording.
Away, here we go.
You get a little snippet into the behind the scenes look before we kickstart the recording. Hence why Nat and I are just having a conversation. Someone's jumped in like, these are just two guys chatting.
Just having a chat.
The reason why, mate, your beautiful wife, your Mrs. Braden, threw you under the bus. I complimented her Facebook post that had a video of the caravan. I'm like, oh, this looks like a great setup, and she just responded, all the gear, no idea.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah. I just imagined you tripping over things outside trying to get a manual barbecue together. It made my day.
Literally, that was it. We had 3 people help us over the weekend. We had electrical issues. We had rope issues.
For those of you that are listening, we're going to start the Feel Fresh Mondays podcast like this. Take it easy on yourself. We've all got our development areas.
Basically.
Yeah, Nat and I, just luckily for this industry, are absolute guns and weapons when it comes to changing your relationship with alcohol and pretty much letting go of and overcoming any addictive behaviors that are holding you back. So welcome to this week's Feel Fresh Mondays podcast recording live. I think there's a few members on at the moment, which is really cool. Welcome. Hey, Isabel. Hey, Jim. Hey to the other members. I can't see your names right now. But viewers, feel free to jump into the chat panel if you have any questions. Otherwise, if you're watching this recording on YouTube or Spotify, welcome to this episode. The title of this episode is called Who's Got Your Back? Who's Got Your Back? And this one flows on from the last couple of episodes. So if you missed them, then feel free to jump into Spotify or YouTube and catch up because they're really beneficial. Today, Nat, we really wanted to speak about, the last couple of episodes we've spoken about the importance of detaching from people that don't have your back, detaching and letting go of people that are, holding you back. And today I wanted to kind of pick your brain and see where the conversation goes. And on the other side of the coin, psychologically speaking, why is it so important and beneficial to have people that are rallying behind you, people that are supporting you? Why is it so, it's almost like, in my experience too, it was like transitioning from a tribe of human beings, actual people, into a new tribe of human beings. That seemed to be the catalyst to help me grow so much as an individual, as opposed to, I'm going to leave these people over here and I'm going to do it on my own. What's been your own personal experience and your professional insight into that? Yeah,
some people will it's a necessity for some. Some will literally need to be around new people, and it can't be done without it. This kind of lands in the category of the accountability conversation we've had already, Tommy, which is about 40% of people will not be able to keep themselves accountable to things. And it's just their psychological setup. So, we've got there's a weird ideal in our culture, and the ideal is that you should be able to set things and do them because you want to. That this is so not the case. It's so not the case. We can't do things just because we want to do them. Way more complicated than that. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do them. It just means the ways and means are so different for so many people. I had a client 2 weeks ago, and we just realized that there's certain aspects of his life that he can't do himself, and he's been trying for 10 years. I was like, Rowan, mate, you can't do them by yourself. Simple as that. So now we just set him up with accountability buddies in these areas, and it's done.
Isn't it interesting how much pressure we put on ourselves?
It's just a false ideal. It's a false ideal. Only 20% of people, more males than females, only 20%, mostly males, so it's even subgroup even more, have the ability to say something and then go do it. It's really small. It's not a good ideal to hold.
And then take that 20%, and then within that 20%, look at individuals who have attachment issues to alcohol. I'm assuming that 20% is going to drop again.
Yep.
Yeah, because we know we've attracted many clients, and we work with a lot of clients who seem to start, maintain, and get heaps of shit done in many areas of their life: family, finances, work, hustle, building business. And then it's like, this thing that can be really detrimental, can't it? 'Cause it's like, well, I've got all my shit together. That means I should have my shit together here. I've got all my stuff together, so I should know how to tackle the alcohol thing.
Yeah, that's got a name. That's called cross-domain competence. And there's a real illusion. And mate, this was me to a T. Like all in my 20s, I was really good at some stuff. And I was like, oh, I'm good at everything now because I'm good at this one thing. So like you can be good, you can be really good at one thing, and one click to the dial left and it seems related, and you're terrible at it.
Mm,
Like just because you're really good at rugby league does not mean you're going to be good at rugby union.
yeah. Yeah, well said. I think it's probably important. I really wanted to speak about this as well. Just get really passionate about, our approach at Drink Less Feel Fresh is, well, the traditional approach actually first is that this is one-stop shop fits all. You have an addiction, so you should never drink again. Where our approach is that you use the word complex. I love it. Life is a deeply, authentically, beautifully complex system. And what creates and provides energy in that system is what's called influence. And everything and everyone is influencing. We are influencing the world is influencing us. And the reason why I like that is because when you and I help individuals change their relationship with alcohol, we're often helping them change their relationship with themselves. And there's a bit of a framework that we have, which is, the most influential experience something other than yourself will have over you is people, is relationships.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's like people are like, no, it's the alcohol and it's the chemical in the alcohol. It's influencing me. But no. The alcohol is the symptom of not handling and dealing with relationships. So if you understand that you are highly influenced by relationships, it just makes sense. If I'm going to be highly influenced by relationships, why wouldn't I create some relationships that are going to highly influence me in the direction of where I'm going?
Yeah, and you're dead on. It's the and if we look at the chain of reactivity, like let's say the bottom corner of my screen down here, you've got this kind of like, let's say emotional work, relationship work, and in the top right corner, you've got kind of drinking alcohol, this chain of reactivity. You can work at the top of the chain. You can do strategy, tactics all around alcohol. You can detox, right? You can work at that end of the chain. But this end of the chain keeps generating the drive to drink. So it's like, it's going to constantly give you the drive to drink, which means you're going to constantly have to put strategies in place. So you can work at this end of the chain of reactivity, which is helpful. Or you can work at this end and that end. And that's how you change your relationship with it.
Yeah. So you nailed it. If anybody's new to the podcast or the way the Drink Less Feel Fresh approach, Nat just really technically summed up one of the most common patterns we see. One of the most common patterns we see is someone working at the top end, as Nat was suggesting, the strategy, the 30-day detox. And those that continue to fall or do a detox for a year and come back, or do a detox for 30 days and then keep, over consuming alcohol and going back, is there's this common link. It's got to be over 90% right now. There's a common link that whilst they were working on the alcohol thing, they weren't directly working on the relationships that mattered most to them.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the hard stuff. It's the hard stuff. But it's the most valuable. My mum's actually a great example. My mum, well, I've watched her for, how old am I now? 33, so 20 plus years. Yeah, exactly. I've watched Mum for 20 years yo-yo diet. 20 kilos on, 20 kilos off, 20 kilos on, 20. And I'll see her like every now and then, and I'm really doing well. I'm really training again. Like, here we go on the upswing of the cycle. She's been doing it forever. It's like saying, she just changed her food, changed her exercise. Great work, Mum. Great work. Loses 20 kilos. Doesn't work at the other end of the chain of reactivity, of beliefs and food and depth and all that stuff. So it just goes ding, 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 ding. Same pattern with alcohol.
Oh, now I was going to share this with you during the week. One of our private clients that you and I are supporting at the moment, currently about, I think it's 4 to 6 weeks into her first real detox.
I know the one.
Yeah. And she threw a brunch for all of her girlfriends, like 8 of them or something, like a big brunch. And people are popping champagne. And I said, hey, I'm just curious, what was going on with the alcohol thing? And I didn't know if she was drinking or not drinking. I hadn't asked that. I was just curious about the thoughts and the beliefs. And her response was incredible, kind of what you were suggesting. It was along the lines of, yeah, to be honest, it was irrelevant. And I was like, oh, this is so good.
Irrelevancy is the go.
Yeah, I had to get it out of her. I said, no, but what was actually going on? She said, well, I got some non-alcoholic champagne and I popped that. And then I just didn't really feel like it. And I was actually looking, whilst I was living in the moment, I was really excited excited to enjoy the sunset. I'm like, you know,
No.
the ability to live in the moment, but also be so excited and ambitious for your future. Like if that's not the road to alcohol reduction, I don't know what is. And this individual has tried many detoxes in the past. They've tried many alcohol reduction patterns and always come back to it. And, you know, she finished the comment with, I'm finally understanding it's the way I view and look at alcohol, not how much I consume it. And she finished. She signed off with something like, here's to finally understanding what it means to change your relationship with alcohol. Like the conversation wasn't did you drink or didn't you drink? It's like, what was going on? How were you feeling? How were you thinking?
Yeah.
Imagine that approach, Nat. By the way, she had a great brunch. Imagine that approach as opposed to sitting there at lunch with high anxiety of like looking at the drink with like the sweat dropping down your forehead. It's like mimicking the crisp water dropping down the champagne bottle. It's like, oh, really? It's not freedom, is it?
Champagne.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And back to having people around you. I think that if we go back to that chain of reactivity, you're gonna need people around you when you're working on the whole chain, not just the end result of drinking less, you know, getting your, you know, doing your detoxes, all that jazz. You're gonna need people around you when you work on the whole chain.
Where does someone start with that journey? Like for me, it kind of felt like it just fell out of the sky, so to speak, at the time. But what has been your insight? How do people look out for the reference points or the markers to be like, oh, maybe that person I want to speak to, or maybe that person's good for me? Because it's a really
easy.
It's a really frantic thing, especially when you're middle-aged or older, and you're like, my tribe's my tribe. It's been my tribe for 30 years. What do you mean I'm going to start making, you know, you hear these comments all the time. Hard to make friends when you're a parent, or hard to make friends after 30. You hear all this BS stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous. But we got to speak about the generalized approach, right? Like that's what's generally going on. You and I can laugh at it. So yeah, what were you about to say? Where would someone start?
First of all, the only reason why that's funny is it's because it's impossible not to make friends. Like our 80% of our brain is wired for social connection. Like you just got to let go and friends pop up. But anyway, that's so when you're looking around good influences, I'll tell you where the best place to start is. There'll be people in your life that when you're around them, they may not be massively exciting. They may not have social status. They may not be rich. They may not have these markers of whatever, right? Because people look for, I need a good influence that has some kind of external success. First of all, you got to drop that. The best people for you is someone when you're around them, you just feel like yourself. That's all that I'm telling you. There's someone in your life that when you're around them, you just feel more like yourself. That's the best place to start. There's a sense of peace. There's a sense of ease. There's a sense of I don't need to try and be anything or do anything. I don't need to keep up. I don't need to wear a certain thing. You know, if you feel any obligation or pressure around someone to be a certain thing or a certain way, that's not the right person.
Yeah. And I was going to add to what you just said there, Nat, as well. You know, just it's not even finding, right? As you said, there will be someone there that when you're with them, you just feel like you can be yourself. And it might be a personal relationship, and it might be a business relationship. It doesn't matter the context of the situation. It's just who are the people that I feel myself around. And then the follow-up question we normally get from members is, well, great, how do I find more of them? Because I want more than one. You know, I want more than one coffee a week with this person. Here's the answer no one wants to hear. Yeah. You directly acknowledge the people that you're spending time with where you don't feel like you're allowed to be yourself. You cut that shit out.
Cut that shit out, exactly. Yeah.
And from letting go, would you agree, Nat, from letting go of those people, and uncomfortably, it is uncomfortably letting go of them, as you said, Nat, they're going to come up, they're going to pop up. The tribe has to pop up.
It has to. Yeah, it's all it can do when you move away from people that might not be a good influence. And same with social groups as well. Sorry, Tommy. Social groups, they work in like a stepwise fashion, whereas no social group is ever bad. You just outgrow them. And then it's also not like a cut them out either. It's just and that's how all things work. Like even in the growth world, when you're doing growth stuff, you'll use a certain method and then you'll outgrow that method and be like, oh shit, I really like that method. Now I've got to get rid of it. Now I've got to go to the next one.
Would you say that there's might trigger some people, but you say there's a bit of a common approach that you can take there to outgrowing method. This morning, I was having my this coffee when I got it, and I normally get my coffee and I sit and watch the sunrise for a little bit. And I was having this thought about it's not only methods are meant to be outgrown, but I think all relationships are too.
Yeah.
And then my brain threw, and they're like, well, but not your kids. And I'm like, well, actually, no, even the kid in the parent phase is meant to grow out of itself. The child is
Absolutely.
meant to become
Absolutely.
so
yeah,
I think that's maybe an important lesson for people is like, I've really loved the quote that kind of sums it up better, which is along the lines of, never reconnect with a toxic person just to overcome loneliness. Like, that one changed the game for me. Like, just constantly, people don't want to be lonely, so it's reconnect with toxic people. It's like that down payment and the ROI on that isn't worth it. Like putting a down payment of like, yeah, cool, I'm going to hang out with this person even though they don't make me feel good, so I don't want to be at home alone. I think it's important for him to understand that, most, if not all, relationships are meant to outgrow. Relationships, like methods, as you said, are supposed to serve and support you to the next journey of your life. And it would be, do you know anyone that's like highly thriving and really centered and grounded and happy, and they're just still with the same people they are with when they're 5? Like, I've never seen that. Like, that's over exaggerated examples make sense to things, right? Like, who here is still surrounded by the same people that we grew up with? Some of us still have those beautiful friends, but if you follow what to the listeners, I would suggest, or Nat, you let me know when you said earlier, find the people that make you feel like yourself. I have, out of my whole journey, I have one or two of my preschool friends that I'm still with. And when you said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why we're still friends.
Yeah.
The next 95% of my friendship groups were made between the age of like 20 to 30 and then 30 to 34.
Yep, exactly.
Now, any non-negotiable must-know insights that you'd like to wrap up with regarding the importance of people having your back? And I mean, straight down the line here, you and I are bringing a bit more of a no BS approach to 2023.
What I would suggest is there's a couple of things that always are in play with really healthy, thriving relationships. Is you can change roles on a dime. So someone might be receiving influence and someone might be giving influence, and then on a dime that should be able to change. That person should be able to give influence and the other person should be able to receive influence. That dynamic needs to be able to turn on a dime for the relationship to really continually flourish. So Tommy and I are a great example. Sometimes Tommy can easily receive influence off me in a second, and then if he's got something to say, I will, and it's important, I will happily just sit back and receive influence from him, and not have any of my beliefs jump in the way because he owns that space or he knows that. So that's a dynamic that is always really, really important. It's the receiving influence dynamic.
But I actually haven't heard about it like that, but that's gun, because the only way I've ever explained it, which is the opposite view on it, is like, just don't, if you're being trapped in a role in the relationship, it's a red flag. But to hear you can allow yourself to play the game.
Receive influence.
Yeah, let's wrap up with that. I invite a question to stimulate individuals thinking over the next 24 hours. For those of you that are watching and listening, which or who of the people in your life do you feel that you play that dance and game of being the influential one and also being influenced by that person? And really become aware of those people and ask yourself, would it be beneficial to spend more time with that person and less time with others? Anything else, Nat?
All right. Then there's I think another way to say that is it's also the respect and care ratio. So like if you're receiving influence, then you have to respect where the influence is coming from. And if you're giving influence, you've got to genuinely care about that person. So that's the other dynamic of that. It's the respect to care ratio. If that ratio is in balance, that friendship will last forever. You'll notice if someone's trying to give you influence and they're not totally wrapping you up in care, why would you listen? Or if you're listening to someone trying to receive influence and you don't respect them because you know a little bit about them or whatever, then that's going to eat away the relationship as well. So that receiving influence dynamic is also based in the respect and care dynamic.
We're going to wrap it up there, but I did need to share something that came up. At the end of the day, this podcast is about drinking less alcohol. how can anybody even navigate relationships like that when they're intoxicated? Like, as you're talking there, Nat, and you're talking about respect and influence,
Impossible.
and I'm just thinking
Impossible.
that never happens. Like, even recently, I was out to a dinner and some people that I was with were intoxicated, and it was constantly like trying to influence.
Everyone's trying to influence each other.
Yeah, me and my wife weren't drinking, and we're just sitting there, and it's just like everything you're saying and these assumptions. I could just feel it. I'm like, that's your shit. You're not even caring about me. You just want to keep talking because you're intoxicated.
Because you're an idiot.
Because you're an idiot. That's great. Oh, viewers, members, I trust you've absolutely loved this conversation. To wrap up, it is extremely important to have your tribe. A tribe are a group of individuals that highly influence and persuade you. They help you create your character and your identity. Once you feel stuck in that identity, it is a tough journey to try to get out and go do it alone.
Yeah, it's hard.
It might lead to alcohol reduction, but it will also be closely attached with potential depressed states and anxiety and fear, etc., etc. Find a tribe that light you up. And as Nat said, look for the people that you already have in your life, even if it's one. Look for that one person that you feel at peace, calm, centered, and grounded with, and make a decision to spend more time with that style of person.
Guys, if you're listening, you haven't done one of our detoxes before, jump in and do it just to feel the power of the tribe. Like it takes 60%, 70% of the load off a detox when you're doing it with people. So our March detox is coming up. I'm sure we've got all the details floating around somewhere, Tommy.
Yep. Head to www.drinklessfeelfresh.com and you can shout out and receive those details. Now, actually, we'll finish with this. What a beautiful example the group is recently. Took one person to post, I think it was last Wednesday, saying, feeling fresh AF today. And then someone else commented like, that's it, I'm feeling fresh tomorrow. Then the next day they posted a photo. And then we've just seen like an influx of people going, how good's living? The tribe is so beneficial. yeah, that's pretty much the comment we got. It's days like this where I think, why do I even toy with the idea of alcohol? This life is too good. Oh, what a great way to wrap up. Here's to drinking less and feeling fresh. Here's to creating choice and freedom in the areas of life where you want to feel more free. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, hey. If you're listening to on Spotify, hey. Head to www.drinklessfeelfresh.com and you can actually register and show up live to these podcast recordings. You can have a little chat with Nat and I before we start the podcast, or jump into the live Q&A and post any comments or questions. Have an incredible week. Happy Monday. We'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Bye for now.
Bye.